Uh, yeah, sorry about the background noise. Yes, sir, though. Like and subscribe with no these, yeah, let's get into what this is part 2 of what if Naruto and Sasuke were twins. And, so we left off and they fought Zabuza and all of that. They ultimately got the test done, well, the mission done. Then they body flickered back home, went to sleep. My classic end off, and, yeah. So, let's go from where we end off. So, they go to sleep, wake up the next morning, and then Kakashi said, "I'm ready for some training." And no, let's just say they wake up, and then they discuss some things, and they talk about how about they be an iconic duo, and it's just them two and nobody else. And then they were discussing that, and Naruto said, "That's a good idea. I should do it." And and then and then and then they wanted to become an iconic duo. So then they went to Kakashi and said, "Kakashi, we quit being ninja." And he said, "Whoa, what do you mean, Sasuke and Naruto?" And he said, and then they say, "We want to be an iconic duo." And then Kakashi said, "What do you mean by iconic duo?" Me and Sasuke want, since we're twins, want to be, equal, and so we want to be a duo, and just us, and nobody else. And so, since that, and then he said, I don't think the Hokage would approve of this, but we could try to consider it. But we could try to consider it. And then they go to the Hokage, and the Hokage said, "This might be a problem, Sasuke and Naruto." And Naruto and Sasuke said, "We will still work for this village, but we just want to be a duo." And and then the Hokage says, "Shouldn't you be a little bit older until you are kind of duo?" And then Naruto and Sasuke both said at the same time, "No, we want to do it now." And if you say no, you can't stop us. We're doing it anyways. And the Hokage said, "I wasn't going to say no." And then and then Sasuke and Naruto, they they both they both punch each other's fists, and then they say, "Ow, ow, we should have never done that." And then Sasuke jumps. He keeps jumping up and says, "Ah, yeah, we really shouldn't have done that." And then the Hokage starts laughing. And then Naruto and Sasuke both turn to him, and then they pull out their machine gun, and then they were about to do the move on him, but the Hokage got up there in time, and then the whole building almost blew up. Half of the building blew up. And then the Hokage was like, "Yep, that's definitely an iconic duo there." And then Kakashi and Sakura were walking down the whatever, they were about to go do some training. And Naruto and Sasuke passed them, and Kakashi said, "So what about the iconic duo thing?" And Sakura said, "What iconic duo thing?" And then Kakashi was about to tell him, but then Naruto and Sasuke said, "None of your business." And then Kakashi was like, "Shouldn't you tell her she's your teammate?" "Not anymore." And then Kakashi thought that was a little brutal, but he got it. And so Naruto and Sasuke, they wanted to do some missions, and so they asked the Hokage could they do some better missions, and they said yes. Then they asked, "Can we go on S rank?" And the Hokage said, "That's a little too advanced for you two right now." Then they both pulled out the machine guns, and the Hokage was like, "Okay, yes." because there was no doors to exit from. Let's just say it was like only a hatch above. And then the Hokage said, okay. And so Naruto and Sasuke went on an expedition. And it's just like I don't really know that much F rank missions. Yeah, I'm about to just make one up. Let's just say oh, this is a good idea. The now I forgot. Hold up. So let's just say that Two Tails got loose, like the blue tiger-ish thing, and Naruto and Sasuke was like, "Oh, this might be fun." And then they hurried up and ran and saw the big Two Tails, and they were like, "Oh, that's big." And then the big Two Tails scratched them, and then Sasuke and Naruto didn't dodge, but they grabbed, like they were holding his paw, and they couldn't withstand the strength, and they were like getting smushed. They were getting like smushed, but they were like, and then Naruto said, "Stop it, stop it." And Sasuke said, "What are you doing?" He said, I don't think we should punish it. It's just a clueless animal." And Sasuke said, "This is," and then Sasuke saw what Naruto was seeing, and then they just saw like a blue tiger, and they were like, "It doesn't seem that bad." And then Naruto and Sasuke got an idea, but they both said it at the same time. What if we get the tiger sealed into us? And then the tiger heard this out loud, like I forgot his name. I forgot his name, and he was like, "That would be a good idea. I can't believe y'all can stand my strength this long. You two are worthy." And Naruto said, "Half and half." And then Sasuke said, "Right." And then Naruto and Sasuke jumped on the tails, and they were rubbing the tail's head and said, "Hey, can you take us to the Leaf Village?" And the tail said, "Yeah." And then they got close enough to the tail's village and said, "Stay out here." And everybody said, "It's a demon, it's a demon." And then they said, "It's the tails, it's the tails." And then they all went crazy, and they heard the big boom, and then Hokage stepped out and saw Naruto and Sasuke on it, rubbing his hand. And then he said, "It's okay," and all the Leaf Village ninja stand down. And then Naruto and Sasuke were screaming, "Hey Hokage, can you seal this into us?" And then the Hokage said, "Yeah, but it's going to take a lot of chakra, and I don't think I can do it alone." Then he got this old lady. That could seal things with no problem. And they sealed it. They sealed half and half into them. And then Naruto and Sasuke said, "You want to go into our mindscapes?" And they said, "Yeah." And so since they were twins, their mindscapes were like connected, I'm gonna say. And let's just say it was kind of dense in there. And Naruto and Sasuke was like, we should change this up a little bit. Then they got a big water bowl and stuff, and like they made it like they got some palm trees and stuff and made it a nice place and got like a little bed for it in their minds. And then Tamabi or something, I think. I know his name starts with a T. I'm pretty sure. The Two Tails said, "Thank you very much," and they said, "No problem." And Naruto and Sasuke thought of the same thing, and they thought that they should switch up their look. And since Sasuke already liked wearing blue, they both thought that since the Two Tails was blue, they should wear blue. And Like, I don't know if I can find a picture of them wearing blue, but I'll try. I'll try. And they were wearing blue, and their hairs. Let's just say their hair was already blue, and they put on all blue outfits. And then when they went to the Hokage's office, the Hokage said, "What's up with the new look?" Well, since the Two Tails is blue, we wanted to wear blue too. And then the Hokage said, "Okay, I didn't even think that I would send you on that mission, but you're gonna do that little combo where you blast the Chidori with the Chidori." And Naruto and Sasuke said, "Well, it's really easy for us to defend." And then they pulled out the Chidori and said, "Hokage, you might want to step back." And they were outside, so like they were like in a training area, because the Hokage said, "Can you take that outside? I do not want my office blown up twice." Then they were like, "Yeah, okay." Then they hurried up and ran outside and did their move when they like it's not expected to like two people running with Chidoris and just slide their feet like sideways and just glide the Chidoris. And like I made this new thing called lightning shield, and it's like a shield that surrounds them in lightning, so like lightning can't hurt them and stuff, like they can't get in. And like let's just say it was one of the strongest defensive moves ever. And Naruto and Sasuke, they were like, we should do something. And then Naruto and Sasuke said, I got an idea. And then he said, "You thinking what I'm thinking?" Then Sasuke said, "Maybe. Just maybe." And then Sasuke was like, "Just kidding. Yep, I know exactly what you're thinking." And then they said, everything we get needs to be blue." They both screamed. And the Hokage heard this, like, because they were still like me. The Hokage, they were still like near the Hokage and stuff. And the Hokage was like, "Oh God, yeah, I think they're getting a little too attached to the Two Tails." And then the Hokage was like, "I don't think that would be necessary." And then they were like, "At least can we get blue katanas or daggers?" And he said, "You have to be skilled with katanas and daggers." They said, "We can train. Plus, what's the difference? What's the difference from all the stuff you use?" Well, it's a lot of differences. And they said, "Nope, you can't change your minds." And the Hokage just went with it. And they didn't make everything they touched blue, because they meant what the Hokage was saying when they got them too attached. And so, since they were sealed in him, like they were sealed in Naruto, that it wasn't a big cage like Kurama. Like he was able to roam free. Like it was a walk path up the stairs, and like it was palm trees right there. And then it was like a bed, like a big bed, and the Two Tails was like lay down on that and stuff. And then it was like a water bowl and stuff. And then they said, "Mr. Two Tails, what is your name?" And he said Tamambi or whatever his name is. I know his name starts with a T, but like, and he told them, and then they were like, "Well, like, how will you help us?" He said, "I can give you chakra, I can heal you, I can do a lot of things." And then he said, "I can even cloak you." And he said, "What do you mean by cloak you?" He said, "Get out of your mindscape and let me give you a lot of chakra. I won't take over your body though." And then they said, "I trust you, Mr. Tamambi." And then they got out of their mindscape, and he focused a lot of chakra on them, and they got the cloak. And then they looked at themselves, and no, they looked at each other and said, "Wait, you're blue." And then Sasuke said, "No, you're blue." And then they both looked at each other and they were blue. They were like, wow, this is cool. And then they were like, is this the cloak that you were talking about, Mr. Tamambi? And he was like, yeah. And he was like, oh, this is cool. And he said, yeah. And then they were like, so what can it do? Well, it can do a lot of devilish things. And they said, what do you mean? Well, it gives off a lot of chakra, and it might exhaust you, but if you really need it, then I'm here to help. And they said, thanks. And then they got out of their mindscape. They said, Mr. Hokage, we can't handle a straight mission. And then he said, I don't think you can. I think that was the only one you can handle. And they were like, damn it. And then they came back the day later and said, Mr. Hokage, we're going on a 10-year training trip. And then the Hokage screamed, 10-year? Until like everybody in the village could hear it. And then Kakashi body flickered to the Hokage's office to see what all the commotion was about. And then he saw Sasuke and Naruto just sitting in front of the Hokage wearing all blue and talking to him. And he said, what is going on and what is with your outfits? And then he said, well, they have the two tails sealed inside them, and they're kind of attached to him. And then he said, what was all the commotion about? Well, they wanted to go on a 10-year training trip. And then Kashi screamed, 10 years? But nobody else came. And then they were like, that's crazy. You cannot go on a 10-year training trip. And they were like, why can't we? By the time we get back, we'll be 18. So right now, I'm going to just say they're 8 and they're strong. And then they were like, well, why can't we? And then they were like, we already have the two perfect partners. And let's just say Itachi was he was on a mission, but he just came back. And so they said, cool, it's our bro and the two tails. That's all we really need. And then they said, well, Itachi is strong, but you two are pretty strong, and the two tails is very strong, and you two are also very strong. So I think we'll allow it. And then he said, but we at least gotta shorten it. And then they said, we will not accept it. We will not accept it if you shorten it. You want to be strong, and so you have to go on a long training trip to do it. And then the Hokage was like, fine, Naruto and Sasuke, but you better be here in 10 years, or I will send 40 troops to come out and try to find you. And they said, okay. And then let's just say they went to this. At the first stop they went to was to get a summoning. And then they asked the tiger dude which summoning should they get. And let's just say a tiger summoning was a thing, and the tigers were vicious. They had great sense of smell, and they were very strong. Let's just say they had those 3 traits. Oh, and they were courageous. And he said, obviously, me, my own family, tigers. And I don't know if he's like a tiger or a lion or whatever, but I'm gonna just say he's a tiger. And like, he was like, well, they were like, okay. Then they went to the tiger thing. And then the tiger was like, what are you here for, kid? And then he said, Mr. Two Tails sent us here. And he said, what, Two Tails? Yeah, Tamambi. And they were like, Tamambi is back. And then they were like, where is he? Well, he's kind of sealed in us. And he said, what did you do to Tamambi? And he was like, oh no, it was our choice and his as well. he wanted to be sealed inside us. And he said, okay, but how do we know for sure? And then they both turned one of their arms into like a big tiger claw, and they said, that's definitely one of Tamambi's claws. And then they took, and then they said, Naruto and Sasuke thought the same thing, obviously, and said, well, we'll let Tamambi take over our body so you can see. And then Naruto and Sasuke stood still, and Tamambi took over Naruto's body. Sasuke was like, huh? And then Naruto's body, then Sasuke's body got took over. And then Tamambi was like, what's up, fellow brothers and sisters? And then the tiger started crying and said, Tamambi, you're back. And then they said, thanks to these two, I was able to find my way back home. And then they were like, okay, we trust you. And then he said, we're here to get a summoning. And well, they're here to get a summoning. And they wanted the tiger summoning because, basically their family or whatever now. And they said, okay. And then they got the tiger summoning. And then he went on about his day and said, and then they went about the day. And Sasuke and Naruto said, well, what should we do next? He said, well, we can do push-ups for 1 year straight. And then they just did some training to 1 year. And right when that 1 year passed, they just did push-ups for the rest of the year. Never mind. And then they were like, then they was eating buff at like 10 years old because, I just say their birthday was on the first of right when the year started out. That was their birthday. And let's just say they were 10 years old, like just puffing and puffing. And then they let's just say halfway into the year they started getting tired. And like y'all guys say, that makes no sense because who can do push-ups that long? But okay, I don't care. And then they started getting tired and said, we can push through. And then a quarter before it ended, they kept pushing and pushing. And finally, one more day into the day was over, they were like, should we rest or should we keep going? And Sasuke and Naruto both thought exactly at the same time. We should keep pushing. Then they started doing it faster. And they were like ripped, bro. And this, I'm always gonna make somebody ripped. They were like ripped. And pushing. Then right when that day ended, their birthday hit. They stopped, fell on the ground in exhaustion. And then Itachi didn't stop them because Itachi, let's just say he was going to get there a year late because he wanted to stay at the village for at least a couple years. And plus, let's just say the journey was a year long or something. And so they were like, that was a lot. And then by the time Itachi got there, he just saw a big, bigger than a rock. Two 10-year-olds are bigger than the rock found. And then he was like, what have you two been doing? And Naruto said, we've been doing push-ups for the whole year. And then they fell out and they went to sleep. And then Itachi said, I just need some rest. Plus, I'm not walking all the way back to the village just to get them treatment. That is not happening. If anything, I'm gonna fall out myself. Let's just say he was walking and didn't stop. And then they woke up the next morning and they were like, let's go train. But they were still exhausted from how long they were doing push-ups and fell back out. And let's just say they were like this for 2 weeks. Then they finally got up 2 weeks later, and they felt good. They were, and then they punched the Chargers hands, and like the impact hurted, but they weren't feeling pain. They said, "Wow, what the strength!" And then Naruto ran, and then he lifted up his arm too high while he was running, and he got a look at it. And when he lifted up his arm, like his muscles hit his chin, and his chin like snapped. It was like, and like it didn't break or anything. It just like readjusted to like where it was. And so like he was like, "Oh God, bro, we're ripped." And let's just say like last time skip 4 years, so we were 2 years in, so like they got 4 more years to go back. And so they did a whole bunch of training, and they were really strong. How old are they? They're 14 right now. 14. And they're like actually buff. And then like they're like really, really strong, like stronger than, let's just say stronger than the 10 tails. No, I don't want them to be OP. Stronger than, let's just say, what should be my stopping point? The 6 tails? Yeah, let's just say the 6 tails. They're stronger than the 6 tails. And so they really going stronger and stronger. Then they said, these 4 years, should we go back early or should we keep training? And let's just say Tachi was 10 years older than them. So at this time, he was 20, or is it 30? Not like 20 exactly, but like 20 or 30. I'm not trying to do all of this math, bro. I just got out of school. Don't do this to me. And so they let's just say they were 10 older though, but I'm gonna just do the math anyways. 24, basically? No. Yeah, Mike 24. Yeah, he's 24 and they're 14. And they're just like buffer than Itachi, and Itachi is like 10 years older than them. And Itachi said, I would do push-ups for 2 years straight. Then he started doing push-ups and just kept going and kept going. And then he didn't get tired until 2 years and 2.5 years in. And he was like, this is light work. And so he just kept pushing. By the end of the year, he was exhausted. And Sasuke and Naruto picked him up with one hand, even though he was really strong. And they picked him up with one hand, and then they put him on his bed, and they were like, "Oh God, he is really getting heavy. Do you think he's getting fat?" And then they looked at him when they put him down and said, "Nope, he's definitely getting bigger than us." And then let's just say it was 2 more years until they had to go back. And then for one of those years, they did push-ups, sit-ups, let's just say lift-ups actually. And then for the last year, they trained on the taijutsu and stuff. And then they went back to the village on their birthday. And when they got back, they saw a big banner saying "Happy Birthday." And then they all jumped out, not all of the village, but like most of the village. Let's just say like all the people from the school and like the ninja stuff jumped out, said "Happy Birthday," and then Naruto and Sasuke just kept walking, and they were like, "What's wrong with them?" And then they were like, "We're too old for that." And then they were like, "Oh God, they really got dark." And then they were like, "Just kidding." And then they started laughing. And then Naruto and Sasuke started laughing. And they said, "There were two idiots at one story." And then Shikamaru and Kiba started laughing when let's just say Shikamaru, let's just say uh Lee said, and then Naruto and Sasuke turned around, and then Naruto and Sasuke cracked their heads, and then walked up to them while they were cracking their knuckles, and said, "Oh, so that's how you want to play the game? You just get back and you insult us." And then he picked them up. Then they picked, let's just say Naruto picked up two of them, and then Sasuke picked up Lee, and Naruto picked up Kiba and Shikamaru. And then Kakashi said, "Let's slow down," and then let's just say, and then Naruto said, "Let it play out." And then Kakashi was like, "Shouldn't you be trying to not make them fight?" And he was like, "Just watch it." And then they realized how buff Naruto and Sasuke were, and they were like, and then they just dropped them, and like their what are they called? Their not wrestling, their whatever it's called. I think I forgot it. What is it? Shidori. And they did the move, and it blowed everybody. Well, let's just say they protected everybody with the lightning shield, except for except for Lee, Kiba and Shikamaru. And Lee, Shikamaru, and Kiba said, "I am sorry," as they were on the ground, looking like, and then just like blasted them or something with a laser beam or something. Like a nuke just hit them, and they were like, and then they fell out, knocked out, and everybody thought that they killed them. And then they were like, "They're not dead. They're just knocked out. No one they even the full potential of it." And then everybody got scared. And they were like, "What?" Then somebody said, "What is the full potential then?" And he said, "Do you really want to know?" Then everybody said, "No, no, no." And then they put out their shibores and then vanished them. And then Naruto and Sasuke were like, let's just say they got like, while they were there, the Hokage got them like a different house. The Hokage said, "Well, I changed your house up a little bit," and it was like a modern house, and the walls were blue. And he said, "Well, I guess he knows us." And then the two tails said, "Yeah." Then they went to slay. That's the classic handoff. Like, look at the percentage, bro. Look at the percentage, dude. And so they were like, "Alright," and then they went to sleep, woke up in their mindscapes, and started talking with the teachers. And I'm gonna end it off right there. Like, subscribe, and notice. Shout out to Reese What Ifs. Well, he did his video, but like he go post more like or whatever. And check out my gaming channel. I don't like, post often, but I am gonna start soon. And yeah, peace. Like, subscribe, and notice.